This conference has been significant in the understanding of humanity. You know, because when you sit down and listen to other discussions, other experiences, you also now begin to open up your mind to experiences you have not seen and then look at the significance for human development. I am Olutayo Adesina, Professor of History, Department of History, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. I teach Nigerian, West African, and African history at the university. And so you could then say that my teaching and research focus complement each other. And so every aspect of research that I do are those that have contributed in one way or the other to the African experience in its interlocking dimensions. And that talks about the economy, the politics, the international relations, the gender, because that's the only way you could actually make a sense of the totality of human experience within the context of what it means to be an African.
So your research delves into how religion has evolved on Nigerian university campuses, moving beyond academic curriculum and designated religious spaces. So in your opinion, why do you think campuses in Nigeria are becoming increasingly more religious? Do you think they are also, could you say that they are becoming more radicalized, or?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say they are becoming more religious because they have always been inherently religious. That's one. And then being radicalized, it depends on what you mean. Being radicalized does not connote, in this sense, in the contemporary usage, such as religious radicalization. No, radical in this sense means understanding your role in society and going after it, not sitting back. If you sit back, you're likely to be too conservative for the exciting events around you, for you to see an opportunity, to recognize it as an opportunity, for you to critique a situation and say, no, it should not be done that way. That's the kind of radicalism we are talking about, and not the revolutionary in this sense, or the religious fundamentalist in this sense. So if you live a radical existence, it means, well, you have been able to identify what society needs, and you have been able to contribute your quota in that sense. So I would then say, yes, because it's a younger generation out there now, we have now been able to distinguish between what they call the hippopotamus generation and the cheetah generation. The cheetah is the fastest animal in the world. And so for those of us who are already getting old, we behave like the hippopotamus, big, fat, not being able to run. And so we're happy to have the cheetah generation, the radical generation, who would understand the need for ICT, the need for IT, the need to, help recalibrate society, So, yes, we're happy to have that generation. At least we are moving forward, and our children are doing very well in all spheres of life, politics, economics, education, and that's why today the academic environment itself has to look at issues from a different prism to stay abreast of what the society needed. That's why now I've said it elsewhere that the society is already questioning the role the relevance, the integrity of the university space as we have it today.
In your presentation, you said a very nice sentence I liked. You said religion nearly eclipsed intellectualism.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, do you think then did religiosity become a type, not, okay, maybe this is worded very badly from my side, type of almost obsession that overshadows the purpose of academic spaces? Has it become too consuming?
You know, intellectualism has to do with freedom of the mind, freedom of expression, your capacity to identify issues and critique issues. But when you then lay too much emphasis on dogma, God says this, God said I should not go, God talked to me overnight. Of course, it begins to question your capacity for self-advancement, your capacity for self-criticism, your capacity for identifying other things you have to do, either for yourself or for society. You stay on the same spot until you hear the words of God, you know. And that's not what we want our students to be. We want our students to be able to have cognition. We want them to be able to reason. Yeah, at times faith and reason also go together. But in a situation in which your faith overshadows your capacity to reason as a rational being, that becomes a problem. You know, and so a time came in the university system, either because of problems from the home, either because of problem with your educational system, either because of the problem with your economy, you move too much into religion. And when you move too much into religion because you are in search of a miracle, then of course you are going to have problems. You know, because you then begin to do faith without works. We want you to understand your capacity to be able to find practical solutions to practical problems. Not a situation in which you have a practical problem and you are looking for divine solutions to it. It's not going to work. You know, so we began to see that with our students. It got better at some point, but it's going back there gradually now because of the global economic collapse. You know, and economic collapse is one of those things that actually cause problems for people because they can't make sense of what is going on. And in a situation where you can't make sense of what is going on, what is the safety valve that you have? Religion.
Your research suggests that faith, piety, and politics are considered transmitters of knowledge and faith, belief, and values and culture on these campuses. Can you provide insight into how these elements have influenced the educational experiences of students at the University of Ibadan and of Afimi?
Well, our university, yeah, well, it's an ingredient. It's like you are cooking a soup. You need your ingredients. Piety, faith, politics, education, they are integral parts of the ingredients needed to produce an energetic, a vibrant, a forward-looking generation. And so whether at Ibadan or Ife, you begin to see the involvement of these students in campus politics, their involvement in charity activities, their involvement in political activities as building blocks for their roles in society in future, either locally or globally. So you cannot just come to the university and stay in your hostel or stay in the classroom without engaging the environment and its people. Education is supposed to give you an informed mind. And once you have that informed mind, then of course you begin to also engage in productive activities that will help society not only to understand itself, but also to define itself. You know, a society that does not define itself is a dead society. So if a society thinks it wants to go to the moon, begins to work towards it. If a society thinks it must be self-sufficient in food production, there has to be food security, you will define yourself in that direction. You know, so these are the kind of things that these universities have been doing. It's not about the books you read alone, but how you engage other people, how you engage other issues, how you begin to have what you call the hands-on experience to be able to say, yes, I have done this, I have contributed. And in the process of doing it, you will find others who will tell you, no, that's not the way. And you ask, okay, how, why, what's the problem? And then they explain. You're a better person for it. Yeah. That's what the society expects of you within the academia. And so we don't want a situation in which you are too bookish, always carrying your books about, reading and making a first class. Somebody who has read and read and read and made a first class, as far as I'm concerned, is not as useful as somebody who has made a second class upper, but who has engaged in a lot of activities that makes him a better man. So what we are trying to create with the university system now in Africa is what you call the total man. That's very significant. And the total woman.
In your view, how do these campuses represent the integration of religious and secular ideologies into politics and everyday reality? Are there specific lessons or observations from your research that could be relevant to understanding similar dynamics on university campuses in other countries, particularly in those of the Remoboko project?
Yeah, you know, these campuses are mosaics. What you call, when I was teaching American history and you refer to the American society, you would call it the salad bowl. You know, so our university campuses are like salad bowls. I would say Igbo, Yoruba, Christian, Muslim, agnostics, non-believers, you know, and so the capacity of these people to move together, to live together, to understand one another is exhilarating. And so we don't have the kind of crisis, even in the outside society, we don't have this kind of crisis on campus. So why is it that we are able to live together peacefully, understand one another peacefully on campus, and they are not doing the same thing in other places? You know, these are the kind of things we want society to, we want these universities to project them more, so that it's not as if it's a totally peaceful haven, but more generally, they have furnished us with that capacity to understand the need for reason. You have to be a reasonable human being. Where your boundary starts is where somebody's boundary stops. You know, so once you have that kind of recognition, then of course, with your knowledge as an educated being, you become more rational. Say, no, don't go beyond that boundary. You know, so for other campuses, I mean, what we have seen in Ibadan Ife are good examples. That may not be as true of other campuses in the east of Nigeria or in the north of Nigeria. But the way people from other regions also want to enter Ibadan or Ife for their education gives you an indication that, yeah, something is going on there that they love to also experience. So, yeah, it's something that can suggest itself for other groups, for other people, for other campuses, not only in Nigeria, but elsewhere in the world.
In what ways do you feel like this conference could have or did contribute to your research?
So for me, personally, I would say it has opened my horizons to issues and events in other lands, and it has also given me the tool to understand how to critique the university system within my own environment. It has also raised other research questions. And so if you then raise other research questions, you are then likely to re-engage your works more. And that's the purpose of intellectual engagements, intellectual disquisitions, and then, of course, the development of not only frameworks, these are very important, but, of course, networking. Yeah, it's very significant. So I have been able to network since I am here now. I've listened to the people from Indonesia. I have been able to gain one or two things, and I'm hoping that the presenter from Pakistan will be able to work together, to re-engage what is going on within the academia, within the fields that we work on, and ultimately as a tool for better human understanding.